Hi everybody, welcome to Combat Japan. I'm your host Andres Vergara. Today we're going to be going over some news and reporting for all things surrounding Japanese combat sports. We're going to talk a little bit of sumo. We're going to talk about some quintet no-gi grappling. We're going to talk RIZIN, and believe it or not, we're going to talk a little bit about the UFC as well. Before we get into any of that, for those of you keeping track at home, my back is still in shambles. I can't do much, and it sucks getting old. Please, please, please take care of your back, especially when deadlifting. All right, with that being said, let's get started with sumo. So the Paris Tour, the JSA Paris Tour just took place on June 13th and 14th in Paris, France. This was at the Accora Arena, and this is an exhibition tournament. It's a 2-day event. It's not really a tournament, as you know, a sumo tournament. It's called a basho, and it's a 15-day event. And whichever wrestler has the best record out of the 15 days per division wins the championship. This being a 2-day tournament, obviously, you couldn't format it the same way. The way this worked, basically single elimination knockout tournament for every wrestler on both days. So they just started, it was just like a bracket, and you had a winner of the first day, and then repeat everybody back in, second day tournament, and then the winner of the second day. The winner of the first day and second day would go against each other to determine the winner of the Paris exhibition tournament. So a little bit different than what we're used to. A couple of things that are noteworthy about this event. This is part of the Sumo World Tour that's happening. Last year they had I think it was a 5-day tournament in London, England, and that was a big deal. This year they're going to Paris, and I think this is to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the JSA, the Japanese Sumo Association, which is the governing body of Grand Sumo in Japan. And yeah, they're celebrating 100 years in existence. That's not to say that sumo is only 100 years old. Sumo goes back, thousands of years. It's an ancient tradition. But yeah, exciting stuff. So let's get into some of the results here and some of what we saw. I think leading up to this, I was really concerned as to who would show up. Recapped in my last sumo video, we had a ton of injuries in the Sanyaku and the name ranks. And this is indicative of who's still hurt and who isn't. And it turns out that basically everybody showed up to Paris to compete. One notable exception is former Ozeki Asanoyama. He is hurt. I believe he has some sort of foot sprain. So he was not able to make it to this tournament. And the reason I say it's indicative of whether or not you're healthy is because obviously, you got to be healthy enough to get on the dojo and compete. But if we're being 100% honest here, these tournaments, they're not really tournaments. They're truly like an exhibition. And what I mean by that, it's not that they're predetermined or anything, but these guys are not really going all out, right? I think I'm actually going to show a clip here from the London tournament where Aonishiki flipped over Ura, and it looks like a work. And I think these guys are just kind of going in there, feeling each other out. Maybe it's a lot like practice type thing, but certainly is not professional level sumo, and it also has no implications to their rankings. So some of you may know, in sumo, you live and die by your ranking. It's called the Banzuke, which is a ranking of every single active wrestler in Grand Sumo. And your movement up and down these rankings depends entirely on how you did the previous tournament. So if you have a winning record, you move up. If you have a losing record, you go down. And there are some exceptions with some of the named ranks, particularly Yokozuna, which is the top rank in sumo, and you are Yokozuna for life, and you cannot be demoted. And then there's also another special exception for Ozeki, which is a position right below Yokozuna. And in that one, you're allowed to have a losing record without getting demoted. It's called Kadoban. And yeah, so that was a big tangent to say that this tournament really has no bearing on their professional career. It's more of a showcase of like, here are the top guys, and just another way to get more eyes on sumo. So really positive stuff. All right, so going back to what happened, Ozeki Kotozakura actually ended up winning day one. He beat Kirishima, or other Ozeki, newly promoted Ozeki, in day one to take the day one championship and going 4-0. He looked great, and this is very notable because I think he went 3-9 and then pulled out. It was just a really bad showing. So he looks healthy as well, and day two, the winner of that going 4-0 was our Yokozuna Hoshoryu, and he ended up going against Kotozakura for the Paris Championship. So day one winner Kotozakura, day two Hoshoryu. They went against each other, and the Ozeki Kotozakura ended up getting the championship. So he is crowned our Paris winner. Some things I just noted here. Hoshoryu. So he hurt his, I believe it was his hamstring. He just basically couldn't really do much. I think after like day three of the Natsubasho back in May, he was moving really well. And that's actually something I'm hoping to kind of show here. Let's see if we can not get dinged. I'm going to show you, I'm trying to show you a match between him and Takayasu, who him and Takayasu have this rivalry going back. These guys, whenever they stare at each other before the tachiai, before they charge, they just like neither of them refuses to move first. It's like a game of chicken. It's just it's really fun to see. But let's see if I can pull that up real quick. All right, so there's Hoshoryu on the left and Takayasu on the right. They've had their stare down and they're about to begin. And I'm just really concerned with how Hoshoryu is moving. So he's there defending the Tsupari attacks from Takayasu, grabbing onto the belt, spinning him, and he's got an Ottawa. And there he pushes him out with an Oshidashi. So that to me does not look like a man who is injured. So that was really noteworthy. Speaking of injuries and performing, our other Yokozuna Onosato, who's been dealing with shoulder injuries, ended up being knocked out in the first round of day one by Wakamoto Haru, who is the brother of the previous Yusha winner Waka Takakage. That's fun to say, right? So look, before Onosato had shoulder issues, he was like unstoppable. He was just winning tournament after tournament. So this makes me wonder, is he just not taking this seriously, or, because it is, like I said, just an exhibition, or is this something that is indicative of other issues with his shoulder? So we shall see, but not a good look for Onosato. And I know that, these aren't like real tournaments, but, they still have their pride, right? And they don't want to look bad. But anyway, another wrestler who has been hurt and has been on the news a lot is our Blue Whirlwind, Aonishiki. He is the phenom from Ukraine. So prior to the past two tournaments, he had never lost, had a losing record rather. And he's had two losing records in a row. He waited all the way up to Ozeki and then became Kataban. And now he's going to be demoted to Sekiwake when they release the next rankings. But this guy, curious to see how he did. So let's just look at a clip here. He's going here. He's the one on the right. He's going against Ura, who is a really, actually really popular wrestler, but he's not the best. He's right about in the middle of the rankings. But let's just see how injured Aonishiki looks here. Here we go. A lot of slapping, going for the belt control, and he's got what, two underhook, no, overhook, underhook, and boom! Look at that flip. What is that called? It's oh, shitate hineri. So it's like a twisting underarm throw. I mean, that looked awesome, but this reminds me a lot of what I was talking about in the previous tournament in London, that it looked like it worked to me. You be the judge, but this is a year earlier, and these are the same exact opponents, right? So this is Ura and Aonishiki. Let's check this out. Look at his face. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. But just going back to this, honestly, Aonishiki to me does not look injured either, which is a good sign. He had, I think, troubles with his toe. So it's good to see him out there. He did not win either day, but again, who knows how hard they're actually really trying. And then lastly, I did want to show the last match of the tournament. So this is Hoshoryu on the left, who again we just saw go against Takayasu, and then Kotozakura on the right, who I mentioned had gone, I believe, 3-9 before pulling out of the tournament. And let's just see how these guys look real quick. Yeah, I mean, Hoshoryu coming in strong, grabbing the underhook. Kotozakura has belt control both hands. And I believe Hoshoryu is going to try and throw. some sort of hip throw, perhaps. Let's see here. Yeah, there it is, and it fails, and Kotozakura wins the whole thing. So one other thing, I think I mentioned earlier that Kotozakura on day one to win the day one championship, he beat Kirishima, who just got promoted to Ozeki, and he's been like on a tear. And before that, he also beat Aonishiki. So he's beating some really good names, and obviously beating Yokozuna Hoshoryu is a really, really big deal for Kotozakura, and I hope it's indicative of his performances in the upcoming Nagoya tournament in July. All right, so that's it for sumo. Moving on. All right, quintet. So I mentioned in my last roundup video, news roundup, that Genki Sudo got appointed as the new producer of Quintet. Somebody in the comment section told me that K1 actually owns Quintet, and I looked into it and I couldn't find any information verifying that. But if that's the case, then that makes a lot of sense, right? Because Genki Sudo is the main producer at K1. It would make a lot of sense if Quintet were a subsidiary, for him to also take over that role, specifically because he's kind of a celebrity and just associated with fight sports. But I couldn't really verify that. But as far as I'm aware, Kazushi Sakuraba is at least the face of Quintet. So yeah, they just announced they're going to have on July 11th and 12th in Yokohama, they're going to have a Quintet amateur tournament. So I think they're taking registrations now, and the way Quintet works, again, it's 5-on-5. Teams go against each other, and as winner stays on. If nobody wins within the allotted amount of time, then they both are out. But besides this amateur tournament, they did come out with another announcement, which is the one I'm mostly excited for. Let's see here. So we're just going to play the announcement here. All right. So July 25th, 2026 in Kyoto, Japan. At the Butokudan, which is the oldest Budokan that's in Japan. Budokan is like a martial arts competition hall, like a very like traditional venue where they would just have martial arts competitions. And they are going to hold Quintet number 6 at this historic venue. I looked it up. I think it was built in 1899, so it's like over 100 years old in Kyoto. So it's interesting because before they would really go into like the arena type thing, now they're kind of going into the whole, look at that venue. They're going into the whole like cool venue thing. I mean, like picture UFC at the White House with a smaller level. But yeah, I think that'd be really sweet. They haven't announced any teams yet. I know that last time, historically, they've done teams like by gym. So like for that 1 year where Craig Jones competed, they had the B team back when they were called the B team. And they had like a 10th Planet team and stuff like that. And in the last one, Quintet 5, they had teams off of like famous people. So they had like a Sakuraba team, a Hensel Gracie team, etc. So I don't know how they're gonna structure the team aspect of it, but it's always exciting. I'm just excited for more grappling in general. I think Quintet's a cool format. So, all right, moving on. All right, so we are in the world of RIZIN. So back on Monday, I want to see if I can get to it. So on Monday, they had a press conference with a lot of our super atomweight stars here, as you can see. And the reason being is that the Japanese women's MMA GOAT, Sekai Izawa, vacated her title back, what was it, in April? She announced that she's pregnant and she didn't want to hold up the division. So she's like, you know what, I'm going to vacate. She did say she will come back. So she's undefeated. I believe she's 18-0. In fact, she's defeated at least 3 of the people on this picture. So, but the reason they had the press conference is because they are announcing it's not a tournament, but they announced a matchup of 8 women in the super atomweight division. And I believe what they're going to do is the winner of each one of these matches, they're going to pick whichever one impresses them the most to fight for the vacant super atomweight title in New Year's Eve in a title match. As you may or may not know, RIZIN does a big New Year's Eve card every single year. So the winner of the sweepstakes basically gets to fight for the title on December 31st. So the matchups that have been announced, we had Moeri Suda versus Siwoo Park. Siwoo Park being one of the people that I mentioned has already lost to Sekai Izawa. And this bout will also be taking place at the Landmark 15 card in Hiroshima. That's July 18th. So that's the next RIZIN card. Same with this bout here, Saori Oshima versus Yiji Lee. Saori also lost to Izawa. I believe it was maybe last year. So she's also in the sweepstakes as well. If I'm being honest, I do feel like they're kind of giving the two Japanese fighters here somebody that they think that they can beat. I think they're trying to kind of engineer this so that they can ensure that there's a Japanese fighter in the finals. I do favor Oshima on this as well. Um, all right, so this one, right? So we have Kate Lotus versus Noelle. So Japan versus Japan. Noelle is actually 10 years younger than Kate Lotus. She's only 18 years old and she's 4-2. She's kind of an upcoming prospect. Kate Lotus has a lot more fights. I believe she's like 10-8 or something, and she's a lot more of a veteran here. But it looks like to me that they're ensuring that they can have at least one Japanese person in the final. Moving on. All right, so this match will be taking place on September 10th on Super RIZIN 5, and this is going to be Reina versus Natasha Kujatina, or Kuja. Say her name, Kuja. She says that. Reina is coming off of a loss to Seika Izawa. I think that was her last fight. She's, I believe, 10-6. Natasha is 10-1, and she's training out of I believe, American Top Team here in the States. She had a really great showing back in, I think might have been Landmark 14. Or sorry, Landmark 13. Yeah, and honestly, if I had to pick a favorite to win the whole thing, it's probably Natasha, but we shall see. There is something to say about this actually being a Grand Prix instead of like an opinion based, like, because out of these matches, there will be 4 winners, and then who gets to decide, who's more impressive? I mean, I guess it depends on whether or not they're a decision or some sort of a electric finish. But that is it for the super atom weights there. Let's move back to RIZIN Landmark 15. All right, so in my previous video where I was reacting to Landmark 14, I erroneously said that the main event was going to be Hagiwara versus Daubek. I don't know where I got that from. I think they announced it, and in my brain I'm like, oh, main event. But the actual main event is going to be a bantamweight title match between Danny Sabatello and Jinosuke Kashimura. Now, I'm not going to do a full breakdown of the card. I think I'm going to make a video just to preview this event in particular, but I did want to just kind of take a glance at what they announced. So Sabatello versus Kashimura. Kashimura is a lot more of a submission grappler. I think most of his wins come from submission. So that is going to have the bantamweight title on the line. As I mentioned before, Kyohei Hagiwara versus Daubek. Both, strikers. Hagiwara, very popular in Japan, but his record is not so great. I'm picking Daubek on that one. I'm not even doing picks. I'm just kind of, but I am picking Daubek on that one. I'm just going over the card real quick. Ota versus Irizbek Telenov. He's a dude from Kyrgyzstan, and he's 7-1, I believe. And he has been fighting a lot in like regional, like Middle East type promotions. Whereas Shinobu Ota definitely has more experience. He's 8-5. I'll be curious to see how this one shakes out. Johnny Case versus Tenya. Johnny Case, being the veteran who's UFC experience, PFL experience, RIZIN experience. He's definitely a striker. He has a ton more experience than his opponent Tenya here. Tenya is only 5-3. Johnny Case is about 40 professional fights. We haven't seen him since May 2025, so I think this might be a bit of a bounce back matchmaking for him as well. Moving on, Hiroya versus Ersin Yamamoto. Ersin being the nephew of the legendary Kid Yamamoto. We last saw him in the Flyweight Grand Prix. I think he won a decision against Yuki Ito for the reserve match, and then that reserve ended up not being needed. Both of these guys don't really have great records. I think they both have actually losing records. I want to say Hiroya is 11-15. Ersin, I think, is 6-8. So this will just be like an action-packed match, but I don't think anything really is at stake in terms of the rankings or anything. But yeah, just kind of, here's some of the 2 women fights that they announced for the super atomweight sweepstakes for New Year's Eve. But yeah, this is stacking up to be a pretty good card. I know that a lot of people give these cards a lot of crap. They call them landfill. Hey, I'm just a fan here. I'm trying to enjoy whatever they give us, so I'm all for it. All right, so that's it for RIZIN. Lastly, I mentioned UFC, and that's because we are having a rematch between Kyoji Horiguchi and Manel Kape. For those of you that might remember, these guys fought back in RIZIN in 2017, and it was I think it was in the semifinals for the Bantamweight World Grand Prix that they were in back in 2017. Kyoji beat him with a head and arm triangle in round 5. I think it was at the very end. This was a hell of a match. Manel actually had a great run in RIZIN, eventually becoming Bantamweight champion, same as Kyoji Horiguchi, so they're both former RIZIN Bantamweight champions. Ever since moving to the UFC, Manel Kape has been doing really well. He's, I think, 7-1 or something like that. And Kyoji, he's on like a 2 or 3 fight win streak ever since being re-signed by the promotion by UFC. But the reason I'm bringing this up in Combat Japan is because they had a legendary match. It was a Bantamweight Grand Prix, and the UFC has been doing a lot lately. You know, they just did the White House card, and they've been talking for years about when they will be returning to Japan. And what a great opportunity, right? I mean, they just had the Tatsuro Taira fight. And leading up to that, before we found out the location, a lot of people thought, hey, maybe they could have a Taira and like a Kyoji Horiguchi like co-main in Japan. Wouldn't that be sick? And nope, that ended up not happening. And for the the much anticipated Horiguchi Kape rematch, we end up getting that in Vegas in the Meta Apex. So and they're fighting in a warehouse, which honestly is super disappointing, man. Like the UFC is not ever gonna recreate RIZIN, right? I mean, they're not RIZIN, and they wouldn't fight in a ring, but I don't know. It's just, it feels like such a missed opportunity, right? Because I know Manel Kape is not Japanese, but people know him there, right? And one thing I did want to show, I do have I was playing their bout in RIZIN, and look at this, man. Here they are in front of the whole crowd. Just giant screens everywhere, huge crowd, the ring, the pomp and circumstance that comes along with every RIZIN event, and that's just epic looking, dude. And now they're gonna fight in the Meta Apex with like 50 people in attendance, so bit of a bummer. But we'll see what happens. I am picking Kyoji to win again. Yeah, I think if Kyoji is able to defeat Kape, he's probably next in line, or close to fighting Josh Van for the UFC flyweight title, and then Japan gets a second crack at it, because Tatsuro Taira unfortunately lost that fight. And God, what a fight that was, man. He fought his heart out. But again, he couldn't get it done. So we shall see how Kyoji does. And that'll be this Saturday at the Meta Apex on Paramount Plus. I'm sure they need all the advertising they can get, those guys. So, all right, we'll switch back here. All right, so that's it for this news roundup for Japanese combat sports. Again, I'm your host, Andres Vergara. I'm going to keep doing these in between events. Obviously, you know, we're still going to preview and react to anything major, but in these kind of weeks where there isn't a lot going on, I'm going to kind of scour the internet and see what I can report for you guys. Hopefully you liked it. That's it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.